Oh no, now the knee. Well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He's sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. That is set up a try for Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, you pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.
Welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of the Supercoach Tragics podcast. I'm your host, Dan, coach of Badonkadonk. Much larger panel tonight, so we'll start with you, Roscoe, mate. Welcome back. Long time no see, mate.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a busy couple of weeks with working, all these trade expos and moving into a new place. So it's been a bit crazy, but I'm back and it's good to be back on with you guys. It's been about 3 or 4 weeks. So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, when life gets in the way, mate, how did your Supercoach score suffer?
It was okay. I had a bare 13. I got like 980 or something, I think it was, which is not too bad. I still lost about probably 500 spots. So not too bad. Still sitting around about 1,800. So I'm pretty happy, but I'm going to take a massive hit this week, unfortunately, with players not being named and players injured. So, yeah, so we'll see what happens.
Fun times. I'm back again this week with us. We've got Timmy O, mate. Timmy, how was your week last week, mate?
Yeah, boys, I had a really good week, actually. 16 players had an 11-20. So, yeah, I was pretty stoked with that. It hasn't quite got me back to where I was 3 or 4 weeks ago, but I'm getting closer. So I'm sitting around 3.5K now. So I went up 6,000 spots for the week, so pretty stoked. At this stage, I think I've got 18 for this week before trades and still looking really good for the rest of the buys. So, yeah, buy planning's paid off really well.
Awesome, mate. Will work. And last but not least, of course, as per usual, we have Glenn, mate. How was your week, mate?
Yeah, I only had 12 play, mate. I only used the 2. I got 860. I dropped to 6K. But just saying, Timmy's, you know how I do all the scores for the Andrew Johns Cup. I'm only 90 points behind 3K, and I'm only 150, I think it is, behind, I think it was 2 or 1,500. So it's not that far off the running, and I'm really set to go forward. So hopefully things play better for me now. I hope.
Yeah. Well, you and me too, mate. I know I've had a pretty good run, but got red arrows myself the last 2 weeks. But I'm sitting out at 398, so not too bad. Still can't complain about that position.
No, that's terrible, mate.
But yeah, you got an 890.
Do you know what your total score is there, Dan? Just to put things in perspective.
I always look at the rank, mate. I just look at the rank. I don't care about total score. I'm too good for that. Yeah, but I got an 895. I'll get my total score up soon, mate. But yeah, 895 and lost about 150 spots, so 130 spots. So I can't really complain too much. But I only had 13 players and some quite average ones in there, unfortunately. But my total score, mate, is 15,211. So yeah, but I got 17 players this week. I was hoping to have 18, but I haven't made any trades at this point. But I'm mucking around with a few ideas. So all right. Before we start with the week's round, let's start looking at the overall group. So we have a new leader. So first of the Tragics overall group is Here Come the Bears. He was in second last week and he's taken the lead. So well done, Glenn. And second, lost his throne, old mate Anthony, but still not far behind. So anything can happen, guys. All right, let's get to it. So game 1, Tigers versus Canberra. I'll start with you, Roscoe, mate. Being a Tigers fan, you had a few thoughts on this game yourself?
Yeah, I think there's a couple options here. I mean, the Tigers have got a pretty tough draw coming up, but there's some forwards I really like in this game. I think Bateman's a serious option at a good price, and even IPAP at about 566K as well. But the one I want to mention, who's the PPM beast, and he's now starting this week, is Finay Pole. He's starting lock this week. Joe Uppengowy's gone. He has a decent PPM of over 1. And I think he could be another option for those who are looking for something a little bit cheaper. I'm seeing a lot of people trading Buller. I don't like it just for the fact that I think he's probably close to peaking now and he's got the tough draw coming up, even though they do play Melbourne They depleted Melbourne in, I think, round 16. But I think, we're people talking about trading like Trell and guys like that to Buller. I just don't like that trade at all. Other than that, for the Raiders, there's not much there, is there? Croker's been rested this week, which doesn't help those trying to have a 17 for this week. Other than that, there's probably not a bad couple of options there. Hudson Young's chugging along nicely. Horsburgh had another massive game with a 99, so obviously he's a potential option too. I think he's highly traded in this week as well.
Yeah, Horse has been good to me. He's one of my only saving graces from last week. So unfortunately, I didn't captain him though. So, but no, I like Horse. It's funny you mentioned Polo. I brought him in a draft about 3 weeks ago. He got named to start 3 weeks ago for one game, and I was like, I needed a band-aid fix, a few buy players out. Brought in Polo, and he's just been, when he gets those minutes, he scores some good points. And for that price he's hitting out nice and cheap, I reckon he's definitely a sneaky little option. But like I said before, he was named 3 weeks ago at lock, and then he got dropped again, and they just keep rotating that forward pack a little bit. So I'm really concerned about how they're going to move forward with that. So it might not be a long-lived positional change.
Yeah, well, they've got Seafaf coming on the bench to replace him. So I don't know if he'll play some front row or whether IPAP will move to the front row or what they'll do. And I'm not sure how they'll do the rotations on that one.
Yeah, something that's going to be a surprise for everyone, I guess.
Yeah.
Anything else?
With the Raiders, interested to hear your thoughts on the big Horse versus Tapine. Like they're both now about Horse is 6.19. I think Tapine's 6.10 or somewhere thereabouts. Similar price. Obviously, both got the dual. If you're only going one, which one do you go for?
I wouldn't be asking me, mate. I actually own both of them.
I think Horse, just for the fact that Tapine played extra minutes on the weekend with the injuries to CHN and also Atta, I don't know how we pronounce his last name. Because Tapine, I think, played 68 minutes on the weekend, which is very high up on his usual average of about 50. Horse is going to get you 80. So I think, despite the fact they're both dual, I think, Horse has got the attacking stats too, I think, as well against Tapine. So for me, I think it's a Horse.
Yeah, it's weird. He's been like last year's Halfpenny Horse. I noticed he's getting those solid minutes. He's doing a pretty good job. I got him in ages ago, and he's been doing good for me since. So awesome. Glenn, mate, anything else, mate?
Yeah, very quickly. So Stafford Toa, if you're looking to make a bit of money, he's got a minus 29 break even. I don't hate that buy. There's a few people looking at him. David Norfoluma, if you're looking for a pod. And the question on Tapine and Horse, I'd be holding both, at least until Haas and Dad are due back. That's just my personal opinion. I like Horse, though, better, as Ross pointed out. That's pretty much it. The rest of the day covered.
Yeah,
you covered what I was going to say about Pole.
Yeah,
I'm very reluctant to do that one.
I think Horse. I got Horse, Tapine, and Haas, so I'm sitting in a pretty spot there as well.
AFB too, haven't you?
At AFB, yeah, that's it. Yeah. They're mixing around in the second row, front row, back and forth. So
you're on the wrong pod, mate.
Yeah, I know. We'll go to you, Timmy, for game number 2, mate. New Zealand versus the Dolphins, mate. Anything in this game strike your fancy?
Look, I think it's actually going to be a decent game of footy. The Dolphins have been playing really, really well, and the Warriors at home, they're always hard to beat over there. So it's I know the Broncos got the chocolates last weekend, which I was actually quite surprised at as a Broncos member. I actually tipped the Warriors, so sucks to be me. But look, I think this will be a decent game. The Dolphins just seem to have so many options, which is just so different to what we thought they were all going to be this season. I brought in Asako last round. I actually went Teddy to Asako, so jury's still out on that one, but I'm pretty happy after VCing Asako and then looping him. I've also got Connolly Lemuel, and actually been really happy with him. He had 120 a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and so he's now sitting just under 650K. He actually lost some coin last weekend, I think, from memory. But yeah, look, he's been really handy. I've had him and Jack Burton just been flicking between the two from second row to centre wing, and it's been a really solid play so far. However, I think I've got to sell Jack Bird this week, so Lord knows what I'm going to do there. Yeah, but look, as far as the Warriors go, look, Dan, you've done well by getting on AFB. It's one that I really kicked myself about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and one of those ones where you could have zigged and I zagged. So unfortunately, I've missed the train there. I went on Jackson Ford. I brought in Tohu Harris last week for Payne Haas. So yeah, again, it's a long-term play and see how that goes. I think Haas will probably miss some time over Origin over this next 5 weeks. So hopefully Harris can stay fit and stay on the field.
Yeah, a bit nerve-wracking. I know it's an Origin and stuff, but like I'm more nerve-wracking about a slight little ankle injury he's holding as well. That can continue on into his club form as well. You never know. So he's a bit nerve-wracking as an owner there. Glenn, mate, anything else we missed, mate?
Nothing to buy. There's a couple to sell. So I missed one in the last game, which was Tomoko. I'd be looking to sell now. I think with his break even, he's a sell. And I think Jackson Ford's a sell now, given the fact that Barnett and Walker are now back onto the bench. And just for those that don't know, none of the Origin players for the Dolphins are backing up, which means that if you've got Newcastle, Eels and Manly and Dolphins, you're in a whole lot of froth and bubble.
That'd be me. Because Neo Croker's been rested and so's Hammer.
The other one I have got, I've obviously still got Izzy Katoa in my 5'8", and unfortunately I've got to play him this week because I've got Dylan Brown as my other 5'8". So
same with
it's not super pretty, but he's going to be a number for me this week at least, and he'll probably stick around for one more week.
Barnett could in fact.
I don't hate the matchup. I don't hate the matchup either for them this week against the Warriors either. But I think when they get all their players back from Origin next week, I really think that Katoa is going to drop out. So I think he's going to be a sell next week for sure, Katoa, especially with the bye coming up as well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too that there is actually a fair few Kiwis in that Dolphins side, so it's going to be a little bit of a homecoming in some ways for a lot of their players. So it will be interesting.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I got Katoa. I got plenty of money in the bank though, so I had a crazy idea to go Katoa out and bring in Cody Walker, which would have been very nice. But I also don't want to be trading a number for this round for another number for this round. I feel like I know it's an upgrade, but I don't want to kind of feel like I'm wasting a trade there.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Next game, Roscoe, Gold Coast Titans versus South Sydney, mate. What do you got looking at here?
Well, yeah, not much here. I mean, Campbell Graham's obviously been named to play. God hope he plays because he let me down last week. And obviously the Latrell's out as well. So I think if you've got Latrell, he's a sell. I think not only the fact with his injury, but he's got, if he goes back into Origin, even round 16, he's out then. He's out round 19 if he's in there too. So, he's missing four of the next whatever many games. Other than that, for the Titans, I mean, hopefully Fafita backs up. I've got him, as most others do. I think he's a genuine VC option for this game too if he plays as well, especially if he starts. Other than that, AKP I see is back into the team. Brian Kelly's been shafted for those that have held him, so I think that's a good matchup for him too. And then obviously Kenner comes back into the team. Milne's been dropped as well, so it's an interesting one because Thompson's been killing it in reserve grade, but hasn't been able to get that spot off Milne. But now I see this week that Thompson's not named in the New South Wales Cup, so there's not really anyone I like as a buy this week for either of those two teams, to be honest with you. I mean, Cody's an option, but South Shore starts to get a bit tougher the next few weeks too, even though he's fixture proof at the moment. He's scoring some good scores against some of the big teams as well. So, but he's also getting very expensive too.
Yeah, I will say one thing. There's a player here that I'm eyeing off. I'm very, very seriously looking at in this game, and that's Killer Koala Matangi.
Yeah, he was going to mention him too.
Yeah, because I got Goz that got Jeski from Cowboys, and he's on the bench there getting like 50 minutes now. I'm not getting very many points. Going him to Killer, that makes my second row look almost completed. So that means that unfortunately I got like everyone's saying to sell forward. I got too many problems. I got Goz that's doing terrible things, and then I got Latrell and Ponga at fullback. So I feel like I might just keep forward. He's not going to break any. No, you're going to get the worst score. He'll be my AA this week. But I love Koala Matangi. I think he's a very serious option there.
Yeah, I was looking at him last week as a pod, but he was very expensive with a high break even. So I figured I'd just wait. I think for me, Peachy up to Koala Matangi is going to be a great trade in a couple of weeks with Targo named on the extended bench. for the Panthers this week, but I'll hold him because if they're playing the bye round 16, he'll probably get a game there. You know, he might play in the centres and they shift. I don't know what's going to happen there because obviously Critter might be still out again for Origin. I'll have Tolo out as well. But the Cowboys, like you with Dan with Goss too. I mean, the jet ski, like they've named all their Origin players on extended bench, and Nanai's back this week as well. So I hate this because you just don't know who's going to play, and you may not even know until an hour before each game.
Yeah, Cowboys are notorious as hell for naming all
They did
their
it last
starters.
year. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
they did it last year too.
I'm pretty sure Panthers are one of the other notorious ones for naming their players on the bench. Like Cleary and Luai got named on the bench last year, but this year they've named them to
and
start.
the Dogs did it too. The Dogs
Yeah.
did it with Pango Jr. and Addo Carr. They're on extended bench too.
Yeah, gotta love the round 14 mind game. So I hope we can avoid any issues there. Glenn, mate, anything else?
No, the only one I was going to say was Killer, mate. He doesn't play 16, but he does play 19. I'd set him on.
Yeah, awesome.
The only other one I'd look at is Junior Jatola. I think he's about mid 400s, early 400s, mid 400s. If you're looking for a cheap downgrade, he's obviously got pedigree. He played really well last year and went on a really good run last season. So if you're looking for front row stocks, he'd be one I'd be keeping an eye on. Not necessarily bring in straight away, but he'd be one I'd be keeping an eye on. Just check out his minutes and see if there's a bit of an increase in work rate or minutes in there somewhere. Keep him on your watch list.
Nice. All right, Timmy, mate. Cronulla versus the Broncos, mate. I know the Cronulla have some pretty good players that are up for grabs. What are your thoughts there, mate?
Yeah, look, this is going to be an interesting game. I really want to see. I mean, I know the teams that have been named, but I want to see which teams are actually finishing the final 17, which players finish in the final 17 for both teams. So this will be an interesting game. I think if Payne Haas plays, we give it a really good crack. If he doesn't, then maybe we fall just short. Obviously, the boys showed plenty of ticker last week against the Warriors, and I was really impressed with how they did play. As for the Sharks, yeah, look, you could throw a net over just about any of them in the 17 and they'd look pretty good in your Supercoach team, especially as they played the next two big buys. You guys already mentioned Talakai earlier. I've been pretty keen on Britton Nakora for most of the season. I just haven't managed to get there. I'm interested to know if Teague Wilton is going to start to hit an uptick again with this good run that they've got coming up. Teague is obviously a much cheaper option than Nakora at the moment, and Teague was outscoring him for earlier in the season. So both of those guys are guys that I really want to get into my side at some stage in the near future, and probably sooner rather than later. Nicho Hynes, obviously, for people that sold him last week, which was a fair few, I'm hoping to God he comes back after maybe playing 15, 20 minutes in Origin and absolutely bites him on the ass for selling him. The tough part then is obviously people have got to find the best part of $1 million to try and get him back in. So I think that was a silly move on a lot of people's behalf. It was something crazy, like 5,000 people sold him. So that was bonkers. Look, I think the Sharks, even if Nicho doesn't play, they've obviously got plenty of extra backup there in Trindle and Connor Tracy that can play in the halves if they need to. And so I think Roscoe you brought in Palacia initially and hoping he gets some points. He actually played really well last week, was quite impressed.
He looked good. He looked good. I didn't catch much footy on the weekend because I was moving, but he looked really good from that game. So I'm surprised that he didn't get the bench spot. But if obviously if Haas is out, he'll probably come in. But it doesn't help me for numbers because then I lose one, but then I gain one. So it doesn't really help. But look, Sharks, geez, you can go anywhere in that back line, including Kennedy as well. I think even Royce Hunt could be a sneaky pod as well for something a bit cheaper as well, maybe too. There's just so much there you could go. Like honestly, there really is. It's going to be interesting to see how many of these Broncos players back up as well.
I really like Kennedy. He's an option for me this week, and I think at some stage over the next 2 weeks, I'll be going either him or Dylan Edwards and basically hold him more than likely as my second fullback till the end. I've just got to have a bit of a play with the draw and try and work out which ones.
So Kennedy's 100k cheaper and definitely has a better draw. There's no doubt about that. Plays the 16, plays the 19. Whereas Edwards will play the 16 but not the 19. I had a look at the draw and I think Kennedy's got the better draw, but I think is it worth the extra 100k? I don't know. I mean, Edwards is probably in a more of a higher ceiling team, I think, because the Sharks can be ultra inconsistent. We've seen that. Like, they can go missing in second halves.
They're the highest
Sharks.
scoring side, the Sharks, and the Eels the second. They just thought I'd throw that in there.
That's okay, Glenn. That's all right. But I'm just saying is that the Panthers tend to play more 80-minute games than the Sharks.
The Panthers are actually giving out better Supercoach points per player, so
Yeah.
if that helps. Can I just say something quickly? So it's important for our viewers to know everything's been said. I agree on the back line. Anyone in the back line is a good buy. But the Eels, the Tigers, the Sharks, and the Dogs play round 16 and round 19. So if you're sort of leaning between an Edwards and a Kennedy, keep that in mind if you want numbers for 16 and 19, that Sharks do play both those major buys, but they do have a buy in between. Can't remember which round it is, but just that's the only thing I need to say.
Yeah. One thing you did mention before about Royce Hunt and about being a pod. One thing I'm totally against is if I'm going to get a pod, I'm not getting a pod in the front row unless he's like a ceiling front rower.
Yep.
Because the point of a pod is a player point of difference, and if he's getting it 60, which is great score for a front, is that really going to make a big difference against your head-to-head or against overall? Not really. Your point of difference, you really want to try to get that. I don't know, the guy that can get the 120 plus, I reckon. But Royce Hunt, if you're got someone and you got a bit of cash and you have someone like a Pele or something like that you want to bugger off and get someone safe, I like that option. Alrighty, let's have a look. Let's go next game. Roscoe, mate. Sydney versus Bulldogs, mate. Thoughts here, mate?
Oh, jeez. Who's going to win this one? This could be a scrap fest, or it could be, I don't know what it's going to be.
I'm going to see it's going to be like 40-42.
Oh, mate. God. Well, obviously, Radley's obviously out suspended again. So, Nat Butcher, I think, starting for him. Would I buy anyone in the Roosters this week? Probably not. Is there players that I'm watching? There is. Obviously, Teddy's going to be a watch after Origin. I think Joey Manu, now he's got his dual position's definitely one to watch. For the Dogs, God, there's not much there except for Karaz. Karaz is an option. I think he's only like 450k too. Absolute steal. Plays the 16, plays the 19 as well. There's not really much else there, I don't think, for the Dogs. I mean, Burton could be a sneaky pod in a few weeks' time, possibly. I don't think it's a play yet, but yeah, it's interesting. There's not really much else there that I like for either of those two teams.
I'm just going to having a quick look now at the draw, because I was looking at Karaz as well, and I think he's a definite option. Looking at the draw, so Bulldogs don't have I know they play the bye rounds, but they've got a pretty rough draw. I'm pretty sure from memory. So we've got Parramatta next week. Then we've got the Sharks, who've been defending reasonably well, as it maybe second half. And then in round 17, they got a bye. Round 18, they are up against the Knights. Yeah, so maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was thinking of someone else. And
the good thing about him is he has a solid base. So even if he doesn't score a try, he'll still get you a 50 at least. So at 450k, I don't think you can go wrong, to be honest with you.
Oh, no, honestly, he's at that. I had him at the start of the year, and he was so good to own. And then he went down. I had to get rid of him, unfortunately. But yeah, he's definitely a player that I'd love to have back in my team. So, but the draw isn't as bad as I thought, because those teams are like, I know the Sharks are reasonable, but they can leak points in second halves. And then you got Parramatta, who knows what team's turning up. They could beat Penrith one week and then get beaten by the Tigers the next week. So you never know. And then you got other players. They got the one bye really between now and the next bye round. So pretty good option there. I like that a lot. Anything else, Glenn?
Players to watch. So Satili's been named at lock. So I'll be watching how that rotation moves. Something in my gut tells me Butcher goes to lock and Angus Crichton. So Angus Crichton's the other one I'll be watching. Both these sides play round 16. But if you don't own Jacob Preston, he's getting 50s and 60s for fun. Anytime he gets an attacking stat, he'll go well. So if you don't own Preston, he's one I'd be jumping on. Karaz I do like, but I'm leaning to Stapatoa based on points per dollar, break even and draw. Tigers have got Titans. They do play Storm in round 16, but that's a depleted Storm. But that's pretty much it, mate.
But the Storm only missing like 2 players to Origin now, though, where everyone's gone to. Aren't they only missing Harry Green and who's the other one?
Munster.
Munster's not all they're missing.
Well, when I did make all these things, I had the belief that Elise Katoa was going to be out as well, but he's not.
Yeah, so they're not really depleted as they used to be, is what I'm saying. You know, they used to be really depleted, that team.
One player to caution people on is that people are looking at Junior Pargo on the wing for the Roosters. They've got Tupou on the extended bench, and he's only he's not far off coming back into that side, if not this round even.
Yeah. One last thing I want to add about this game is someone we haven't mentioned who I think is going to go nuts is Joey Manu at 5'8" when he's back. So, yeah, I've got him in my team. I held on to him, and I'm hoping he repays the favour. So,
me too.
Really hoping he does good for me. All right, Timmy, mate. Cowboys versus the Storm, mate. Anything can happen here as well. I think the Storm should have a lot of their players back. Cowboys could get beaten by. If they get beaten by 66 points against Tigers, I'm sure Melbourne could put on another 100.
Yeah, look, it's a game of the two Queensland teams, isn't it? It's I'm sure Melbourne's just out past Stanthorpe somewhere down near north of
Queensland.
Everything's in Queensland.
That's it. So look, it's I don't know. I've got a sneaky suspicion. I'm not going to say an upset, but I think this game could end up being closer than people think. I think the Cowboys, Lord knows what's going to turn up, but I think against the Storm, they're probably going to have a decent crack at it. Look, how good is Josh Drinkwater been playing? Like you mean
Scott Drinkwater?
What did I just say?
Josh.
I think I said Scott, but yeah. Anyway, so Scott Drinkwater. I think your internet's cactus. Scott Drinkwater. So anyway, so yeah, he's been a shining light for the Cowboys. Was what I was trying to say. Spit it out anyway. And then you look at the other extreme. How far has Taumalolo fallen from grace? Like, oh my Lord. He's surely in the off season they'll be looking at shipping him on or trying to find somebody to pay part of his wages or something, because he's certainly not living up to their $1 million a year at the moment. Whether that's coaching, whether that's an issue that he's got with the club, who only knows. He did talk about it at the start of the season. He was possibly looking for a way out, but it's not helping us with Supercoach at the moment, nor is he helping the Cowboys. But look, the Cowboys have got plenty of options. I know Helam Lukey was pretty popular a couple of weeks ago. Didn't have as good a score last week as I'm sure people would have wanted. So yeah, there's I think the main ones there are Drinkwater. I mean, guys like Jake Granville, like he's been moved, he's been played just about every position on the field. He even had a crack at front row. So oh my God, I think the guy this season's had every number on his back that you possibly can do. So, yeah, look, the Storm players, if Munster backs up, they're obviously going to be a different team. I'd be pretty keen on, if you had Munster, maybe a sneaky captain option in this game. But, yeah, outside of that, look, I think with the Storm you could have just about anybody, but they've still got tricky buys. So I'm not really convinced on jumping in on anybody in these two particular teams at the moment, certainly not for my squad, but other people might see things a bit differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Glenn?
Yeah, I do see it differently. I see two players that I think could be interesting pods. One I mentioned before the show, which was Nick Meaney. He's quite costly, but I just think the Storm's run. They got Cows. They play the Tigers in the bye round, but he is $6.99. I'm cashed up and I can do it, so it's one I'm seriously considering. I can actually go Croker to Meaney, and and the other one I like as a pod is Olam. I really like Olam, and I think that this could be a little good run for him through the bye period. But they're the only two, and Drinkwater I do like as well, and both play the bye round, which is nice.
Awesome. All right, last game, Panthers versus Dragons. Surely Cleary is a decent captain option here. Roscoe?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I don't think he's going to get rested. I think he's going to play. I think there's no dramas about that. Obviously, it's risky captaining someone the last game, backing up from Origin, but I'm pretty confident he's going to play, and he's definitely seriously an option. It would be nice to be able to VC Hines into him, but obviously we can't do that. But yeah, no, I think he's going to be highly captained this week in this game. I think it's a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, awesome. Anything else, Glenn?
Yeah, I just point out that Targo's on the bench and he's due back. He's also costly, but I don't mind the run coming up. Penrith play the Cowboys in the bye round, which is quite juicy. So you just watch him to come down a little bit, and literally nothing else other than Dylan Edwards. If you're looking for someone in your fullback area, he'd be the other one I'd be looking at. That's all, mate, really.
Yeah, the Dragons aren't looking too overly crash hot, besides a couple of the consistent players there, but Glenn?
I was going to say Sorensen as well. Yeah, I don't see nothing in the Dragons, and they don't play like their draw. I don't really like their draw now from here through the bye. Lomax would be the only one I'd probably look at.
What about who? Because I haven't seen the full team. Who's replacing Critter in the centres, Dan, for Penrith?
Who's replacing who?
Stephen Crichton.
Stephen Crichton.
Oh, that's where I think Targo comes in. Critter's named in the side, so he could play.
Oh, of course he's named in the side, of course. That's right.
That's right. But Targo's on the extended bench, so watch that one with interest. I own Toho and Taruva, and I'm actually very considering holding Toho. If Toho doesn't play, moving it to Targo if he goes in.
I'm more worried. I'm more worried as a Peachy owner, to be honest with you, what they're going to do, because I've got a feeling Peachy might be the one that gets shafted to the bench, even though he's been playing well.
Yeah,
I think it all depends on.
I think it's going to be a straight swap if Critter plays, Targo plays, then I think Peachy's the one that drops to the bench.
Yeah, that's the obvious choice. But it's more. I think they're all going to play it by year and see how Critter pulls up after Origin, really, as well. So I think the obvious choice is definitely Peachy drops out to the bench, and then go from there. But like I said, it's definitely an option to give Critter a rest if he needs it. So.
But I just think for those who are looking to maybe look to sell Peachy if he doesn't, and you're obviously not going to know till the last game potentially too, because or an hour before the last game, but do hold him because, you know, they played round 16. He'll probably start that round 2 and he's still got cash to be made. So I wouldn't be selling him.
Their extended bench is Jack Cogger, Garner, Jenkins, Eisenhower, Henry, Targo, and Lee.
Yeah, see, they're covering all their Origin players.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So I'm very careful.
Because the teams that have a lot of Origin players, you know, they're naming 24-man squad.
Yeah, I think they'll rest a lot of Panthers myself.
I think Isaiah Yo's a chance to get rested. Not that he's super coach relevant.
Yeah,
I reckon you'll find that's why they've got Garner in there.
He's draft relevant though, so some people probably have him in their draft side. So definitely be wary.
Good question, boys. I've still got Sonny Luke in my team. It's not a position that I really want to trade this week, and obviously he's not going to lose me anything, but it looks like at this stage I may have to play him for his 15 points or whatever he's going to get me. Is there a world where with Jake Turpin obviously named and there's all the talk that he's going to be an 80-minute hooker for the Roosters while Smith is out? Very similar price tag at the moment. I think Turpin is he's only about 230k, so it's basically a straight swap.
I don't know if I do it.
Is that one worth trading?
There's some rumour that Mitch Kenny will go to lock if Yo doesn't play, and that Sonny Luke will play. And there was also rumours around that Sonny Luke was training in the lower grades to play bigger minutes, ready for this. So I personally think that Sonny Luke versus the Dragons this week will have at least 50 minutes.
Yeah. One thing I will say though is that trade I'd normally say no to, but I know you're in a position where you have tons of trades, so you have those disposable trades. If you've got those extra trades and you're happy to burn them, I don't mind that. But like I said, I think Glenn's right. Maybe wait 1 week. Yeah. But then if you copy him this week, then you never know. You got to kind of risk it this one, I guess. But in a normal situation, I'd take the hit on the trades.
And the way I'm looking at it this week, I've probably got bigger fish to fry in Tomoko before he loses me 100 and something else K this week. Regardless of whatever he scores, he's going to lose a bucket load of cash. So, and then I've also got Jack Bird who's out, so I really need.
Yeah, cool. All right, that's the games wrapped up. So, Glenn, mate, do we have some questions, mate?
We have a few, mate. So. The first one was from Alan Wright, our lovable Alan. Potential cheapies to cover last 2 big buy rounds. So he's looking for someone cheap that plays. So it's got to be either out of Eels, Tigers, Sharks and Dogs, because they're the only ones that play both last 2 buy rounds.
What's that cheapie from Bulldogs? Oh, he's just got named this week as well.
Blake Wilson.
Yeah. Is he going to? What do you reckon his minutes are going to be? Like his job security is like? Is there anyone that's out? But Addo back.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah,
I can't see Addo not backing up from Origin unless he's got a twinge or something. Like he'll come in. I don't think there's anyone from any of those teams that are going to play those buys that are going to be cheap.
It's a Carraz.
Well, yeah, he's saying cheap.
Still
I don't know if that's cheap.
450k
He's
though.
still, the one that I noticed, but I don't play both, is Semi Balabai has been named for the Cowboys this week. I don't know how cheap he is. The bloke who used to play for Canberra. He's been named,
Yeah.
but Cowboys have got the buy. I think 16. Not sure if they play 19 though either. There's not really anyone else there.
No,
I think cheapies might be in
the
the forwards. Might be the best
only one
option.
is that the other one you mentioned in the forwards, Dan, is that bloke from that solo bloke from the Raiders.
Raiders. Yeah.
But they don't. But again, they don't play round 16 either.
yeah.
I think
all
the best thing to do for those cheapies, and this is my personal belief, is I always wait until right before round 16,
Yeah.
and you look at the team that gets named. You look at those cheapies there, and you get your guns now, and then you get your cheapies right before when you get the 3 trades, so you know that security they're being named. You get them there, and if they're playing like the Bulldogs, the Tigers, or whatever, like the teams that are playing those 2 buy rounds, that's when you jump on. It's probably best to wait because it's so risky going early, and then all of a sudden something happens, and they're not getting named at all. Like look at some of the things being thrown up by the Roosters alone. Like Junior Paulos has been dropped.
Even with Farah too from Dolphins too. A lot of people jumped on him. We had 20,000 jump on him early, and look what happened to him.
Exactly. So
he's named on the bench again this week. He was on the bench last week.
Yeah. So my suggestion is literally wait to get those cheapies in until right before that round when the team list gets named.
That was literally my advice to him in the chat.
Yeah.
That was exactly what I said.
Maybe I read it without realising it and just thought I'd give him your advice.
He took the credit. So the next one's from Sam Panetta, and I like this question. He says, Nakora or Tarpany? I know how I would go, but I'm interested what you guys say.
It's Nakora all day for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer. Plays both buys, plays 80 minutes. You're paying for the minutes. You know what I mean?
I think the only plus with Tapane is obviously his dual, so you can flick him back and forwards. If you've got 3 or 4 of those guys like I've got at the moment, it's a pretty handy thing.
Yeah.
Like I've got Tohu Harris, I've got the horse, I've actually got Sean Kepi still as one of my bench front row forwards. So being able to flick those guys up and down has been really handy in this buy period. Yeah. So look, it's that's a plus for Joey Taps, but yeah,
playing at lock, which is
that's exactly right. But this is a question I'm looking at myself literally right now. My second row options and who's worth bringing in.
Nakora plays 16, he plays 19, he plays 80 minutes. In my opinion, you're paying more minutes is more opportunities to get scoring stats. You know what I mean? So that's a simple one. So
and he scores tries.
He does, and his base is really good as well. Like he's averaging 72. I had a look at him today. So the next one, I'll let you answer this because I don't like this one at all. It's Daniel Michael, and he says, is DWZ an option? He said, I like the right-hand side against the upcoming teams, against the including the Dragons left, which I agree. But he said, I'll be moving forward on to get him via duels. So forward to DWS, guys, yes or no?
Right.
DWS is too inconsistent to my liking.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'll say. On his day, like we saw what he can do. On his day, he gets big scores, but he's so inconsistent as well. And also, one thing as well, he's a bit of a hothead too. So he has an option, has a tendency to get suspended as well. So
I'm just going to say he's got to break even to -2. He hasn't averaged a 67, which obviously inflated by last week's score, because if you look at those other scores, it's a 36, 38, 52, and a 50.
Yeah, it's ugly.
But he did get a 99 against Melbourne. So
that just proves that point. He's inconsistent. You don't know what you're going to get out of him.
Yeah. 558's a lot to pay for a bloke that doesn't have a base.
The Warriors play a lot of forwards, play a lot through the forwards too. The next question we've already answered on the thing was Nofo. Sorry, Nofo. I think he's a good pod, but I think based on points per dollar, there's better out there, personally, and Staffatoa on the other edge.
Yeah.
What's he at the moment? Any idea off the top of anyone's head? Nofo?
No, I can't remember. It was 590 or.
He's just below 600.
Yeah,
I don't know because it was one of my options this week as a sneaky pot option. But the draw scared me away a little bit. But they only Tigers. This is why I was concerned. That's why I like the Tigers, because they've only got one more bye game left, and that's round 17, and then they have the rest of the game. That's two Tigers players. I know you get the risk with the Tigers player, but you also get the security of having the rest of the game except for one. So,
there was one more question. Oh, it says, "What's your go-to takeaway?"
What?
Peter Waltman wants to know what our go-to takeaway is. So mine's Thai.
Oh, jeez.
That's very nice of you to want to eat with your son, mate. That's not that
That's
time.
not Thai.
I like it.
Succulent Chinese
never
meat.
get
I
him to
was
stand
going to
still
say
in the
that.
pot.
I love a succulent Chinese meal. You can't beat it, can you?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not sure
Mate,
if you get this
I
angle,
got
but I'm
three-
like all you can eat, as you can clearly tell my gut here. So,
Red curry lamb.
I got 3 little kids, so it's basically anywhere that sells chips and nuggets.
Mhm.
Might help
McDonald's,
you.
the McDonald's and KFC. Then
That's all of
Oh,
them.
mate, it
right?
could be anywhere that sells chips and nuggets.
Oh, gosh.
All right, that's all the questions done, guys. So let's move on to trade talk. So we'll start with you, Roscoe, mate. Any trades you're looking at this week, mate?
Well, I have to. I'm burning trades for fun at the moment, but hey, it's fun, isn't it? So at the moment, I'm looking at Latrell out for probably Talakai at this stage, and the other one's going to be Hammer out to Bateman by Jules.
Bit different. It's one of those ones you probably won't hear very often being said around, so a bit potty, which is good. Timmy O, mate, what are we looking at?
At the moment, boys, looking at Matt Tomoko and Jack Bird out for Karaz and either Bateman or Brit Nakora.
Okay, like it. And Glenn, mate, what are you looking at?
Yes, I'm going forward to Nakora, and then I'm not 100% sure if part of me wants to hold Toho, because if he doesn't back up, I was thinking about going to Targo as a pod, but I can also go Toho to Meany or Croker to either Karaz or Stafatoa. And I was leaning to Stafatoa based on points per dollar and the break even, but Karaz, both of them play both buys, so that was interesting too. So that they're the ones I'm looking at.
What's the price difference between Stafford and Karaz?
About 80K, I think it was. Karaz was cheaper, 440 or
Like
something.
484 something.
So-
rather.
Yeah.
480
So I think Karaz is usually base of around about 50. What about has Toa got a base, like a decent base at all?
I'll check that out for you while you're doing the next thing.
Yeah. So my trades this week, got one of those lucky ones that has Sloan in my team. So Sloan's going to be gone, and Gazetski's going to be gone as well. So I'm looking at bringing in Koala Matangi as my in my second row, and then that doesn't leave me very much cash really to bring anyone else in. So I'm looking at Billy Smith. Still got a low break even there, playing for the Roosters. So we know what he can do, but I think he's around the 365 mark, so definitely a cheaper option there. But I think it's an upgrade from Sloan. So
Dan, you're not concerned about Koala's 112 break even? He's a player that I just literally looked at 5 minutes ago myself. I'm thinking if I can, at this rate, this week, I think I've probably got to hold forward. But then if I bring in Bateman over Nakora this week, then next week I can turn forward into Koala Matangi after he probably loses 20 or 30K.
yeah, I'm not really too concerned on break evens at all at this point of the year. My salary cap's around the probably 14.8 mil at the moment. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm happy to stick around and just look for those points. At the moment, I'm sitting in a good position, so I can keep maintaining those points and then hopefully make a run for the golden prize at the end of the year. So.
Yep, fair call, mate.
Yeah, but the other thing is with like if I got guys, who do I go to? And then like I'm going to lose more money from goals than I would from Killer. If Killer gets a nice 80, 90 points or whatever, or hoping he gets a decent score against that, they're playing against the Gold Coast. So if he gets a decent score, which is 80 or 90, he doesn't lose as much as what Goz does. So to me, it's about the same even trade, but getting more points out of that. So.
Oh yeah, I just meant instead of going Kaloa Matangi, going someone like a Bateman or Nakora or whatever. If
Nakora is 708,000, so I believe So I just
I've got the option. The reason why I'm asking, I've got the option this week. Like I've got 770K in the bank, so I can basically bring in anybody. So, but then when I sat there looking at some of the BEs, some of those boys I can probably hold a week, bank some cash, and then turn forward into whoever I want next week. So that was more the reason why I was asking whether there was a particular reason why you were going him over Bateman or some of the other high guys.
So I'll give you these numbers on Stafford Tower. They're actually not as pretty as I like. So his base is 27, which is pretty much on par with a lot of centre wings. But he's averaging 56. His 0.78 is his PPM. But these are some of his scores, right? 14, 26, 32, 53, 83, 47, 40, 58, and 152 in that game where we sort of.
So you take out that 152 and his average is sitting at about 35, 40.
That's right.
So it's not great. That's why I asked the comparison. So I'm saying, is it worth the extra 80K less to go Toa over Karaz?
Yeah, that's right. So his price point is actually 572.
Toa's 572.
Yeah.
Shit. Well, he's a no-go then.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. I don't know if that's right because I remember looking at him and I'm sure I wouldn't have gone anywhere near him.
I'm pretty sure he's quite expensive.
Yeah, but I don't think it's that expensive.
But I don't think it was that expensive.
I've got it here, actually. I've got it backed up. He's 572. He is.
Yeah, far out now. Forget that.
Yeah,
chuck that option out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, geez, I like looking at my back line this week.
Hey, Dan, we can't hear you, buddy.
Me? Oh,
Dan.
Dan.
Yeah.
Dan.
All right. I'll have to take over quickly until his voice comes back in. So quickly, we'll do vice captains and captain options. So what are you looking at for your vice captain and captain, Timmy?
No idea, mate. Ask Ross first. Give me 30 seconds.
What are you looking
at? For Peter, if he plays VC into Cleary, it's a no-brainer for me.
Okay, so I'm looking at Manu VC and Cleary C, but possibly or Fafita and Manu. They're my two. Dan's looking at Cleary as his captain. Are you there?
And more than likely Fafita as my my vice captain.
Yeah, copycat.
Yeah, you can tell by his score in Supercoach he's been copying me.
Yeah, look, I got no idea. I do like Fafita, possibly the sneaky pod on Osako again this week.
I was going to say that. I was just about to say that. Is Osako a sneaky option?
Yeah. Against the Warriors on that outside edge. He is a sneaky option there. I do like the Joey Manu one. If he's still at 5'8", I'd love Joey Manu if he was playing fullback. That would be fantastic. But yeah, let's wait and see. But no, I think Fafita against the Bunnies is probably up for a really big game if he backs up. Depends really on how many minutes he plays tomorrow night.
So do you remember what I said in the chat last week? I said under no circumstances I'm selling Grant to Cook, right? My planned trade.
You fullback. You said it and you did it.
I was going to go Toho to Isako or Marzu. And then I thought, no, I'm not going Marzu because he's got the bye next week. So I'm going Isako. I said it to Dan. And then I changed my mind and I went Grant to Cook. And I was like, mate, my son actually went for a walk because I was that friggin' wound up at Osako in that game. Like I was.
Don't worry, Glenn. Hey, don't worry, Glenn. If it makes you feel any better, I had two options. Do I go Adam Elliott as the pod, or do I go Marzu? And you know which way I went, don't you?
Oh no.
God. Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. You got fucking 38 points.
But I'm built well going forward, and I'm really happy about that. So that's the upside.
I've got good coverage for the next few rounds, just not for the round coming. That's the problem.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to get hurt this round. You've got Knights out, you've got Manly out, you've got Eels out, and then the Dolphins not backing up, and then whoever doesn't back up.
And plus Croker too.
Yeah. And Croker's out as well. Yeah, well, that's who I'm selling Croker to Karaz now.
Yeah, I think one thing, if you had a fail this week or last week, like most of us did, it's probably the best week to fail. Prepare for the run home. Prepare early. Get that round 16 and 19, and then prepare for those. And that way you're set for the run home. And that's what, especially when you're low on trades. I'm not overly too low. I'm about 20 trades left, but like you want to make sure you're set up, and that way you got those trades for injuries and you're ready to go. So, but in Timmy's position right now, where he's trade heavy,
after trades this week. After trades this week, I still got 21.
Yeah, that's it. So that's pretty solid. And that's you can take a few risks and afford to take a few in and out trades, and that can be the difference.
The good thing is too is with the Sharks as well. Not only do they have a good run coming up, but I think the guys like Talakai, Mortalo, Kennedy, and Nakora and that, they're actual general keepers to the end. You don't want to be bringing guys in that are just covering 16 and 19 and then wasting trades to trade them out if they're not going to be at your team at the end. You need to be looking past 19 and 16 now too.
Yeah, and that's exactly the reason why I've avoided. I'm taking the hit with the AE because I got Ponga and Latrell. So I always
sorry, Dan.
I'm taking the hit on Latrell and getting an AE just because I don't want to have to. What am I going to do? Go Latrell to say Dylan Edwards or Kennedy, and then now I'm stuck with no gun fullback besides Ponga, which can be risk. So I'm trying to save that trade and take an AE.
I have to play a last one out of 3 players. I just want your advice, what you think, guys, on this. So it's between Smith, Hayes Perham, or Stefano. I'm leaning towards leaving Stefano out, actually, and playing Perham and Smith based on the minutes.
Yeah, I think so.
Perham again. I think the Roosters are leaking a lot of points to fullbacks as well.
Perham's been averaging really nicely.
Yeah.
He really has. But
He's the
Stefano,
top Supercoach scorer for the Bulldogs, I think. Or he's certainly up there in their top point scorers for the Bulldogs. So
he's doing well.
I just had a look. He's played 2 more games than Carraz. I just had to look myself.
Yeah.
So I think he was 100 points in front of Carraz, but he's played 2 more games.
Right.
Because I questioned that trade myself as a pod going Perham instead of Carraz. But I know the fact that he's played 2 more games is
What worries me about leaving out Stefano is that if someone's a laid out, then I've not played him. But at the end of the day, I just get him as the AE anyway. So it kind of,
Hey, Dan, so who's your other 5'8", Dan? Is it Manu and Dylan Brown?
I got D Brown and Katoa, mate. Manu's in my centre wing.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got 5'8" everywhere, mate. I got a 5'8" at fullback. I got a 5'8" in centre wing. I got 2 5'8" in the 5'8" position.
Yeah.
I got like 5 centre wing fullback duels in my team at the moment.
Yeah, we all have. Justin, Manu.
Alrighty, guys. Before we wrap up, anything else we want to say before we close up?
So the Off the Bench will do a podcast tomorrow night for a team.
Thursday, you goose.
Tomorrow, not so. Jesus.
You're day ahead of yourself, mate.
Thursday, the Off the Bench crew will do a podcast covering Origin and the teams for the round coming.
Can I just mention one thing?
Thanks, fearsome leader.
Do we think Freddie's telling the truth or what?
Telling the truth.
About Cleary, like it's a worry. We've already lost Latrell.
It's the mind game. Bring on the mind games. Let's go.
Yeah, all right. We'll see. I hope it's not. And the AJ Cup, we still got to do the score. So sorry about the belated.
Yeah, it's ready to go now. It's all up there, ready to go. So
Off the Bench is up to 4.
Yeah,
Let's go, boys.
Good week for us. We're up into 4th, and we've put some distance on 5th even.
So maybe I
We're
don't
only
need
50
to
points
pay
behind 3rd now too.
Yep. We're doing well. We're doing well. It was a big week for the Off the Bench boys. It's despite things paid off.
A shout out to Dave London too for a cracking score this round too. What did you get, 1180 or something this round too? So
1189.
Yeah, nice, well done, Dave.
Yeah, one person. Well, I won't say that. I'll leave it till after the pod.
One person did score 1,000. That was me.
I was going to say someone. I won't say it. That's what.
Yeah, how about them Broncos? They've been playing awesome. Go Broncos. Love them.
Yeah, go Broncos.
Hey, can I just mention that I'm really impressed that Dan's wearing a maroon shirt tonight. Unfortunately, I left mine upstairs and the wife's been crooked, so I didn't have a chance to go through the cupboard and grab my maroon gear. But I'm really impressed that Dan is wearing maroon tonight. Thanks very much, Dan. Thanks for your support.
Yeah, it's one of those disposal ones you use the toilet paper afterwards usually. So
he's going to go put it in the shed to learn his fire with it.
All right, guys, are we finished or are we going to keep
all done, boys?
No, we'll just talk crap all day.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and we'll tune in next week. And go Blues.
Go the
Thanks
Blues.
for having us on, boys. Stay safe. Be good.
So you want to be a champion? Oh no, now the knee. Well, that was it. Manu, what's he done there? He sold the dummy with a knee injury. It's a fake knee injury. Manu's set up and thrown from Momirovski.
It's the next tackle. He gets an offload. He goes back and gets the football. Probably feels a cramp coming on in the back of his calf. And then just takes off.
Oh, what a beauty. So, You pick which has been the better moment. The bloke kicking the ball back from the traffic at the southern end, or Manu, the cramp, the fibber, and takes off to set up a try.